Right, I've tightened all the screws up. Now it's time to put the carbon brushes in. When you put the brushes in, make sure they move freely in the holder like that. If they're tight, if they jam at all, they'll stick, and what will happen is eventually the brush will wear down on the armature, and then it'll, because it's sticking, it will lose contact as it wears away, and the thing will cut in and out. It'll be intermittent, so always make sure it moves freely. Push the spring right in and hold it with your thumb or something like that. It's a bit fiddly. Put your little clip over and that'll hold it in place while you put the screw. Don't forget the wires, and make sure you've got the right screw, because it has to be a fairly short one. There are longer ones and short ones. A short one, otherwise it'll hit on the motor casing and bend the thing out and it won't work properly. You'll get the brush holder will get tight. That's that one done. Just make sure it's nice and square. Same with the other side. Bit fiddly trying to do this with the camera watching me. Pop it in. I've done this thousands of times, so it should be in, but never to a camera before. Right, make sure you get your wire with a TV choke on. That's the one that comes off the field coil. The TV choke there, what all it does actually is stops the thing interfering with your television set, because of the arcing on the carbon brushes. Now I'll put the new brushes in. You will notice that when you start it up, for a while it will sound a bit noisy because it will click, because the brushes have to bed in and the edges are square, and until they've sort of rounded off a bit it won't sound that smooth, but it will be okay electrically and it'll work. Put your little fan on the top. Again, it will tighten itself up, but if you want to be sure, you can put something in the fan like that, or you can tighten it up by holding the armature underneath before you put the whole thing together. Get your sleeve bearing. Like I said, it always pays to put a little tiny bit of grease in it. You're not really supposed to, but we always do. I always think it's better. Just a little dab of grease on the top of the armature shaft, and then put your cap on. You can only go on one way round. Just get the grease off my hands. I can't. Alright, that goes on there. There's 4 screws in this one. Interestingly, you'll see that 3 of the screws are sort of galvanised, and the one's dark Japan finish. Normally they have, in this case there'll be 3 Japan ones and 1 silvery coloured one galvanised one. That's because they use it as an earthing system. When you've got a suppressor on it, they use it as an earth, and I suppose you get a better connection with a galvanised one than a Japan one, but I haven't got any suppressor on this one, so it doesn't matter. This, by the way, is actually a commercial one. It's not one that was sold in the shops. It's a commercial one which they used in the hotels. They had thousands of these things, and all of the big hotels used them. They used to rent them off Hoover Limited. You can tell it's a commercial one simply because, with one thing, it's single speed, and this is a 652A, which is normally a dual speed, but for commercial purposes they only had a single speed. They didn't need, because they didn't need the tools. And the other way you can tell instantly is there's no dirt finder lamp. Normally they'd have a lamp holder just here. There's the fitting for it. They'd have a lamp holder on there with a lamp which shone through the front of the hood. They'd have a lens in the front, so it's lit up the carpet as you were cleaning it, but because they didn't deem that necessary in the hotels, I just have to put this one screw in the back to hold the little connection block. That's it. And that's the motor part done now. Just turn it over, make sure everything's alright underneath. It's an anti-clockwise thread, by the way, to turn it out. Now, one important thing to remember when you're servicing Hoover, one of the most important things is to oil the wheels, funny enough, because if you do everything else and do a wonderful job on it and forget to oil the wheels, the customer uses it and it squeaks, and they don't think it's very good at all. No matter how good a job you've done on it, this one isn't too bad, but they are a bit noisy, and just a little bit of oil on those wheels makes a world of difference. So just get the oil can. We can put a spot of oil on. Don't put too much on, because it'll get on the customer's carpet and they won't like that. Just a tiny bit on each of the wheels. See the difference? They're silent now. One of the most important things when you're serving the vacuum cleaner. Clean all the dust out, oil the wheels, put some new belt and brushes on, job done. That's all they have to worry about. Anyway, that's that for now. Now, next bit I'm going to do is the agitator. This piece here. Again, compared to what you have today, a bit of plastic with some brushes embedded in it, this thing is Rolls-Royce quality. the ends unscrew. There's usually lots of threads and things around here. You just take those off. Same with the other end. I'm going to replace the brushes on this one. These are the, again, you can't do this today. You have to replace the whole thing. In these days, Hoover supplied all the brushes. I've got new strips here. As you can see, they're quite a bit, considerably longer than the old ones. And I'm going to replace those. All you got to do basically is just prise this end off. They get a bit tight. So these are plastic. Originally they were aluminium, but replacements are plastic. So that's all. You can push the other end out like that. You take the other end off. They're exactly the same in this model because the belt goes in the middle. On some of the junior models, it's not in equal distance across, so you have to get it right way around. In this case, it doesn't matter. I just need some pliers to hold the shaft to undo it. You just grip the shaft, and you can take the other end cap off quite simply. It's a bit messy, this. Right, that's that. The other bearings in there. Now these are the Agitator bearings. These do need lubricating, and again, you've got to use the Hoover grease gun for that. You take I've already taken off the nipple on the end, and you just use it neat like that. Pop the bearing in, just get a bit of rag or something, put down, and then press down like that till the grease comes out the outside. That means it's gone right through the bearing, it's cleaned the old grease off and put new grease in. Again, these are quality ball bearings. Modern machines don't have this sort of thing, and you couldn't replace them even if they did. It's all throwaway junk today, made in the Far East. This is quality made stuff. Sadly, most of these machines have probably been scrapped by now, and people have bought these rubbishy cheating things that are made of plastic and only last a couple of years before you chuck them away. So basically that's the bearings greased. To get the brushes out, couldn't be easier really, just slide them out. Like that, like that. Give the thing a tap just to get the dust and stuff. There's always a lot of dust builds up in there. Get that out. If there's any muck on there, it's a good idea to just get a wire brush on that and clean it off. Naturally I couldn't find my wire brush, but I found it now. Just give it, you get a bit of grease and stuff build up around there. That's the beater bar. That's where the beater it sweeps as it cleans comes from. The beater bar beats the carpet, and the brushes sweep. There we go. That's it. Right, you can see the brushes, the difference in the length of them. Can you see them there? Not easy trying to put it on a camera. You just slide them in. Make sure you get the right brushes, because there's some models have a different end on the brush. It's a nice thick brush, that one. I'll put that one into its thicker. There we are, nice thick brushes on there. Now it's a matter of assembling these. There's a little metal thrust washer goes in first. It's a little spring washer. Then you put your bearing in. And that's the wrong way around. What am I doing? I'm going dopey. That way around. Put your bearing in. And then you've got a little cap which goes on top, which is supposed to seal them and hold the bearing in place. I'll do the same with this one. The thrust washer's still in that one, so just pop the bearing in. Actually, I should have cleaned that off really. There's the little thing to hold it in place. And you pop one end in first. Sometimes they're a bit tight, you can tap with a hammer. Then get your shaft, poke it through so it sticks at the other end, like that. And then put this end on. When you screw the ends on, it will pull the whole thing together. There's two ends on this. There's a plain end, a round end, and there's what you call a squared end, which has got squared bits. Doesn't matter which you put on this because it's the same length anyway, but when you put it in the machine, that has to go into a slot in the machine, so get it the right way round. It just stops the main thing from rotating, the part that shouldn't rotate. I'll just screw those ends on. Seems like it's a bit tight, that. I think one of them might be a bit bent. I'll just give it a tap. I think the end cap's a bit bent actually. And give it a spin just to make sure it's alright. It's a bit noisy, that. I think it's rubbing on the... I know what it is. It'll be okay. It's those brushes, they're cheap. They're not genuine Hoover brushes, they're cheaply made things. And the plastic moulding is sticking out a bit and rubbing on the end cap. But it won't matter, I don't think. Actually, I might just cut it off because it's annoying. This is annoying me. So that one's alright. I think it's the other end. Don't watch because I'm holding the thread with the pliers, which I shouldn't be doing really. You know, I think, see, it's that sticking up there. I'll just get a sharp knife and just cut that off. Watch my fingers, I don't want blood all over the thing. Pop the end back on. Yeah, that's much better, lovely. Smooth as anything. That's brilliant. Now that's got to go back in the cleaner, but notice the D shape, the flat side goes in that little slot there, like so. I can't put it in at the moment because I need a new belt to put on there and I've got to go and find one. So I'll give it a break there while I go and find some more bits.